Don't forget, you can reach the latest episode of Potomac Watch anytime. Just ask your smart speaker, play the Opinion Potomac Watch podcast.
From the opinion pages of the Wall Street Journal, this is Potomac Watch.
Welcome back. One final thought here, Kim, is the importance of races and elections for state Supreme Courts. These are often low-profile races that don't attract much attention, much by way of campaign fundraising, but they can matter a lot. And I think here is a perfect example. There were 3 justices of the 7-justice Pennsylvania Supreme Court who wrote in an opinion attached to this that they would not have intervened in this case now. They would have let this dispute over these undated ballots percolate through the courts, the lower courts, in the normal course of business. And so the fact that there were 4, there was a majority here that wanted to make this statement is what is preventing this question of undated ballots from hanging maybe for weeks longer over this Pennsylvania Senate race. There was also a concurring statement issued by Justice Kevin Brobson, which is pretty pointed in the direction of Bucks County and its compatriots. It says, "I write separately to disabuse local elections officials of the notion that they have the authority to ignore election code provisions that they believe are unconstitutional." He says, "Only the courts under our charter may declare a statute or provision unconstitutional." And notable because Justice Kevin Brobson was elected to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court in a 2021 election after the controversy over COVID and the start of this litigation over these undated ballots. And so it shows, I think, that even though these low-profile Supreme Court races at the bottom of the ballot don't get a lot of attention, when it comes down to it, they can really matter and make a difference on the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. And notable, by the way, so this was a partisan election for an open seat on the high court in 2021. And so you'd had this whole mess of the Pennsylvania State Supreme Court, including one that really grated on a lot of Pennsylvania's, which was that there's a state law, for instance, that very clearly says mail ballots must be received by 8 p.m. on Election Day. But a couple of months before people went to the polls, a different majority on the state Supreme Court came up with this COVID-19 exception to the rule, saying that, well, mail ballots that arrived even 3 days late would still be allowed, even if they didn't even have a postmark. And, they had all kinds of justifications for this, even though it was extremely clear that the Pennsylvania General Assembly, which makes the rules, had written out in the law exactly what the rules were meant to be. And that really caused a furor in the state. And so when Brobson ran, he was the GOP nominee, but his website, he wasn't overly partisan about all this, but he simply said that he will defend the law as it is written. And that mattered to a lot of Pennsylvania voters, and they sent him up to the high court. And as you say, as a result, we are not seeing the shenanigans that we saw from the court a couple of years ago, and it very easily could have gone the other way. So indeed, these court elections do often matter.
Thank you, Kim and Bill. Thank you all for listening. You can email us at pwpodcast@wsj.com. If you like the show, please hit that subscribe button, and we'll be back tomorrow with another edition of Potomac Watch.